Please stay on mute throughout the webinar if you would, just so we don't have any distractions while I'm going through the information. I also wanted to ask everybody to please save their questions until the end. We will have about 30 minutes or so at the tail end of the webinar for you to ask any questions that you may have. But I can bet that a lot of the questions that you do have will probably be answered throughout the webinar. So please just save any questions until the end, and then we'll open it up for any additional questions you have. I am going to share my screen. We're going to first go through the SLC page of our Florida HOSA website and all of the required forms that you have to submit, all of the important information that you need to know. Then we will go to the online registration system, and I will show you how to register for the SLC, which you should already be pretty familiar with, having registered for all of your regional conferences. And then we will do the Q&A like I had mentioned. Okay, so everyone should be pretty familiar with the Florida HOSA website by now, I would hope at least. So if you hover over conferences and you click on the State Leadership Conference, that will take you to our SLC page. I hope all of you have at least seen this before. We will be at the Marriott Orlando World Center April 3rd through the 6th. Please note this red box because this is a bit new. If you are a new advisor this year, this is a policy that we have in place that is brand new this year. If you're a seasoned advisor, please note this because it is brand new. We used to have a cancellation policy. That is no more. So that's per the Florida HOSA Inc. Board of Directors. So please understand that there will be no cancellations or refunds after our February 21st registration deadline. So again, we'll go through all of the important deadline dates and everything, but February 21st is a very important date to remember, put in your calendars, because that is our registration deadline in the online HOSA registration system. And so there will be no cancellations or refunds after that deadline. So all names in the system after it closes must be paid for, and there will be no exceptions, and a block will be put on your account until it is paid. Now we are allowing substitutions for courtesy core voting delegates if approved by the regional advisor. We'll get into that in a little bit. Or team competitive event registrations. So not individual competitive event registrations, just team event registrations. Those must be made by Friday, March 7th, though. And there is a link to the team substitution information right here, but I will also show you that document towards the end of the page once we get there. I probably will also remind you a few times throughout the webinar that, again, there are no cancellations, just so it sinks in and everybody knows, because again, it is new this year. In red here up at the top, I want to note, I'm sure all of you received my email from yesterday. If you did not, my apologies. We sent it to all of our affiliated advisors, so you should have received it. But this is the SLC hotel update. The Marriott block that we have is full. And so we have a Google form right here. If you haven't already filled it out, please do so as early as you possibly can. It is a waiting list for the rooms. So it'll ask you some questions, how many king rooms you need, how many double rooms you need. So please fill that out at your earliest convenience if you have not already. An additional block of hotel rooms will be released on February 15th. I did just sign an addendum today for some additional hotel rooms. Not many, it is not a lot. We will not all be at the Marriott. I can tell you that for certain. We will need an overflow hotel this year. But there will be some additional rooms opened based on the addendum that I did sign. And I'm sure there were some advisors who have made reservations that potentially made them before their regional conference that reserved more rooms than they need. And those will, I'm sure, be canceled as well. And so we will have some additional rooms at the Marriott based on this Google form, the waiting list, that's how we will put you into those rooms on a first come, first served basis, depending on when you filled out this form. So you'll be contacted in the order that the forms were received. Like I had mentioned, we do expect to need an overflow hotel. The overflow hotel is not finalized yet. Please don't email me asking me where the overflow hotel is, because as stated right here, it is not yet finalized. When it is finalized, as it says right here, more information will be provided on our website. So please keep checking back here. Please do not email me and tell me that the Marriott is full. I know it's full. We were the first to know. So please make sure you're just keep checking this web page, and any updates that are important will be here. So like I mentioned, the earlier the form is submitted, the better. We will start processing the room requests on February 15th, like I had mentioned in the order they're received. So you will hear from Caroline Sendra at the Marriott if you are put into rooms in the block within the Marriott. If not, more information will be provided about an overflow hotel. And we will be providing transportation from the overflow hotel to the Marriott. Last year, we were at the Caribe Royale. I do not know if that will be our overflow hotel this year, but wherever it is, it will be close to the Marriott. So more information will be posted on our website when we have it. Please note also in red right here, our policy. This is not new. This has not changed. This is Florida HOSA Inc.'s, our board, our organization, and our insurance company's policy that all HOSA members attending the SLC, this is including post-secondary chapters, they are not exempt from this policy. All HOSA members attending the SLC must be accompanied by their chapter advisor or a school-approved chaperone, and they must stay at the approved conference hotel, which is the Marriott Orlando World Center, or whatever overflow hotel we designate for the duration of the conference. So this is beginning Thursday, April 3rd at 5 p.m. That's when our conference starts. That's when orientations start, all of that, through Sunday, April 6th. So Florida HOSA does not approve or sanction a person missing any part of the conference. Please do not email me, can my student leave for prom? Can my student leave for grad night? I will point you to this, which states that they have to stay for the duration of the conference. And that is, again, our liability insurance policy that we must have for this conference. We'll talk about this a couple times more throughout the webinar, but we are not doing digital uploads. I know the guidelines state that there are digital uploads. They do digital uploads at ILC, but most of the guidelines now state and have been updated to show that the state may have a different process. So we will not be doing digital uploads. Anything that is supposed to be uploaded needs to be brought to the conference hard copy. Okay, so moving into our memo letter, which I hope all of you have read. I'm not going to go in depth into this. Please read this when you have a chance if you have not already. It's very important. All of the information that's in here, we don't put all this information out just because we put it out, because it's very important for you to know. So again, I just want you to be sure that you have fully read the memo letter and all the information that it has in it. So all student members attending the SLC must have an assignment or a function. So they must be in a competitive event or be a courtesy corps member or a voting delegate. We'll talk a little bit more about voting delegates, but those are, again, approved by your regional advisors, or be a state officer candidate. I'd like to note something new for this year. The Leadership Academy, if you are a seasoned advisor, or if this is not your first year, you are probably familiar with the Leadership Academy. It will still be provided at SLC, but it no longer qualifies as an assignment or a function to get your member to SLC. So I really want to note that. I will mention that a couple more times just because it's very important for you to know. that the Leadership Academy no longer qualifies as an assignment or a function. And the reason behind that is because Florida HOSA pays to have somebody conduct the Leadership Academy. And our requirement, which I will show in just a second, is that if you sign up for the Leadership Academy, you must attend the Leadership Academy. There is a cost associated with the Leadership Academy, but we always pay far more than what we get from the members who are paying to attend the Leadership Academy. And the problem we have had over the past few years is that there have been chapters that have signed a handful, 20, maybe 30 kids up to go to the Leadership Academy that have no other function to get to SLC. That's the sole reason they're coming. And then they aren't showing up to the Leadership Academy. So that is why that it is no longer offered as an assignment or a function, but it can be an add-on. We are still offering it. It can be an add-on if your member is already going to SLC for one of the other assignment or functions I just mentioned. As I had mentioned before, just a little bit ago, that there has to be an approved chaperone or registered advisor with the chapter, including post-secondary. So please make sure if you're not coming that you're designating a school-approved chaperone to attend with your chapter. And as I had mentioned before, the online registration deadline is February 21st, right here highlighted in yellow and in red font. Please don't miss that deadline. Please also make sure that if you have before that deadline registered members to attend the SLC and they are not coming, that you cancel and you delete those registrations. I will show you how to do that before 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on February 21st, or you will have to pay for the students that are in the online registration system. Again, here's the policy about the no cancellations or refunds. Make sure that we'll go through a little more in detail about the forms, but make sure that all of your registration materials for your chapter, all of your forms, your payment, everything is sent together in one envelope. It just makes it a lot easier on us. We have all of your paperwork and payment together. We've had issues where stuff's been lost in the mail, so it just makes it a lot easier and more likely for all of it to get to us if it's all submitted in one packet. We will go through the required forms, but they are listed here as well. Please make sure under this important section that you understand as the chapter advisor what is required for dress code for your student member. I will show you our dress code poster that you can refer them to that has a lot more information about the dress code. This is just a very quick summary here in the memo letter. But I want all of the advisors to understand that if your student is not in dress code, they will not be allowed in the general session, and they will not be allowed on stage. So we will have people checking at the doors. We will have added security. We have had some issues in past years where family guests have tried sneaking in. That will not be happening this year. You have to have a name badge. You have to have a wristband. And your student members must be in official dress, which is the official HOSA uniform or the navy blue or black suit. So please make sure that they understand that that is what they have to be in for the general sessions. Now, their competitive events is potentially a different story. You need to refer to the guidelines for those because there are some events that they can be in other approved attire, but that is on a case-by-case basis, whichever competitive event they are in. But for the general sessions, they must be in official uniform. And like I said, we will have people checking at the door and we will have people checking before they get on stage. Please also make sure that many regions do the fun little like headbands and necklaces and things like that, the spirit items. Those are still allowed, but please make sure that your student understands that they cannot wear those on stage. So while they may be in official dress, they need to take all those off before they try to get up on stage. Hotel reservations, we have talked about that. I will also go through the hotel document that we have on the website so that if you do get a room at the Marriott, you'll understand the pricing, but everybody should be familiar with this at this point. The courtesy core rule is, and this is by our board of directors, is that each school can designate only one courtesy core member in their registration. So you can only register one courtesy core member. And they must assist all 3 days. So they have to assist Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. There is a courtesy core orientation on Thursday that they must attend. That is listed in our tentative agenda on the website. And they must utilize the sign up sheet, which I will show you in just a second, to sign up. Either you or them, preferably you, fill out the form for them to sign up for a courtesy core. That doesn't mean that when you get to SLC, your other members can't assist as a courtesy core. They can, but those members, if they do want to assist as a courtesy core, have to have some other assignment or function. Like I had mentioned, they have to be in a competitive event, they have to be a voting delegate, they'd have to be a state officer candidate. So just to note, you can have them assist, but if they are going to assist, again, it needs to be all 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The Leadership Academy, as I had just mentioned, again, new this year, it is not an assignment or function. It is an add-on to whatever assignment or function that the student has going to the SLC. I get some questions about what it is. It is a very valuable experience for our members. We have a lot of great feedback. This year, our keynote speaker, who will be the keynote speaker at the opening general session, is facilitating the Leadership Academy. It's a very interactive workshop for our members. We encourage all members to attend, but especially any of your members that want to be local chapter officers, regional officers, potentially state officers in the future, maybe even international officers. We recommend that they do attend the Leadership Academy. They get a lot out of it. They get to network. They get to further their leadership and organizational skills and developmental skills. It's a very great opportunity for them. It is $10 this year. Like I had just mentioned, all members who register for the Leadership Academy must attend, and there's no exceptions there. We do take attendance, and those who do not attend may be blocked from registering for future Leadership Academies or the state conference. So please note, if they are registered for the Leadership Academy, they must attend. The National Anthem audition has already passed. That deadline was January 19th. Here are all the forms and information that is listed that I'm going to go through more in depth on our Florida HOSA SLC page. Competitive event responsibilities, I'll show this document as well, but we do need help from our advisors to assist with our competitive events. We are a very large organization. We're the second largest chartered association. We have a very large conference. We offer most all of the events, so we do need assistance from our advisors to help us as lieutenants and event managers to help run these events for the members so that we're able to continue offering all of the competitive events that we are. So thank you in advance if you were assigned. I do have some advisors who were assigned that are not coming to SLC that I will have to send out some new assignments. So please just be on the lookout if you get something from me about being an event manager. It'll have more information about what that entails. But thank you in advance to everybody who has been assigned and will be helping us with that. We really do appreciate it. Again, we aren't using the Tallow platform that we've used in the past. There's no required digital uploads, like I mentioned, except for, so please note, except for the American Red Cross volunteer event, the Barbara James Service Award, the Health Literacy Ambassador, HOSA Happenings, and the HOSA Service Project. So these are all listed our recognition events. I'll go through the deadlines for those. For HOSA Happenings, all of these submissions need to be emailed to me. My email's right there. So please make sure you note that. And like I had mentioned, all of the competitive events, we're not doing digital uploads. You must bring you have your members bring a hard copy for the State Leadership Conference. We do not offer I get this question a lot, we do not offer the National Geographic testing. That's ILC only. So if you go to the Global National HOSA website, up at the very top is the National Geographic testing. We do not offer that at our state conference. And we do not offer the Emotional Wellbeing Challenge. That those both are ILC only events. Please note, if you have members that are competing in personal care, life support skills, interviewing skills, or speaking skills, you must complete the student accommodation request form, and I'll show you that in just a little bit, but you must submit that with your full packet. Please do not forget. Okay, so moving along to important deadlines, we'll go through this fairly quickly. Again, not using digital uploads. The state officer application, if you have anybody applying to state office, I hope they're done with it because it needs to be postmarked by Saturday. So that is due very quickly. The rookie and local advisor recognition forms, I will show you those forms tonight. Those are due February 14th. The state conference registration deadline, which I've mentioned quite a bit at this point, is February 21st. That is also the deadline for hotel room reservations. I know the room block is full, so please just make sure you're submitting that Google form for the waiting list if you have not already. And then the Courtesy Corps pre-registration through the form I will show you is also due February 21st. And remember, it's one student per school and they must assist all 3 days. Your full registration packet with all of those forms listed right there that I will go through, and your payment must be postmarked by February 24th. Like I had mentioned, please make sure you send it all together in one packet. And please make sure you also include that accommodation eligibility form for those 4 events that I had mentioned and that are listed right here. Those must be postmarked by February 24th as well. Put into with your packet, but please make sure you also bring those to SLC. Make sure you have a copy and your students have a copy and they bring that with them. We will give a copy to CE, but just please make sure that they also have a copy in you as well. The Florida HOSA Foundation scholarship application is due February 28th by 11:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is a hard cutoff, so please make sure your students understand. Anything received 11:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and after will not be accepted for the scholarship application. Moving into the recognition events, like I had mentioned, those are the ones that were not following the digital upload because they have their own process for uploading. So for the America's Blood Centers and HOSA Blood Drive, please make sure that all of the data for the chapter is entered per the guideline instructions, and that has to be on or before February 21st. These are all on or before February 21st. So American Red Cross Volunteer Recognition, Barbara James Service Award. We will talk a little bit more about Barbara James because we do have the ability for your student to register as a non-attending Barbara James. So I'll talk about that when we get to the online system and when we talk about when we get to the online registration document. But the chapter advisor must verify the member volunteer hours in the HOSA activity tracking system on or before February 21st. Please make sure, the best advice I can give to you for these recognition events and any really event that anything's due, please set a much earlier deadline for your members, because if you tell them that it has to be uploaded, their hours have to be uploaded by them by February 21st, which is the date that you have to approve it. If there's any issues, they can't get into the system or whatever it may be, there's no leeway there. So please make sure that you're setting an earlier deadline for them to submit their hours themselves. That gives you enough time, especially if you have a large chapter and you have multiple students that are participating in the recognition categories events. Please make sure that they're submitting well in advance to give you time to approve. Please also make sure for you and for the member that you both are specifically following what is said on the guidelines. So there's a video, there's multiple steps that are listed on the guidelines. Please make sure you're following those verbatim, because that is how you will enter the volunteer hours in the system if you're the member, and how you will approve it as a chapter advisor. Again, HOSA happenings must be emailed to me by February 21st. And then the HOSA service project, again, same as Barbara James American Red Cross, those hours must be approved and verified on or before February 21st by you as a chapter advisor. So again, setting that earlier deadline for your members. The online registration instructions document, our conference registration fee is $100, and that's for each affiliated student, member, advisor, chaperone, and family guest. So it's $100 across the board. Whoever is registered, it is $100. Please make sure if you have family guests coming for your students and they are attending any part or wanting to attend any part of our state conference, they must be registered. So if they are not registered, they are not going to get a name badge. They're not going to get a wristband. They are not going to be able to get into our general session. And we do not do on-site registration. So I would hate for any parents to think that they're going to be able to go to all of those things, get there and not be able to go to anything because they aren't registered. And again, we do not do on-site registration. So if you have a parent or parents that are interested in going and want to attend any part of the state conference, even our expo and career fair, any part, they must be registered. The $20 non-attending Barbara James Service Award. So that is more, and there's a paragraph in our memo letter that explains it more, but basically, if students want to be recognized at our state leadership conference for Barbara James, and they are not wanting to actually attend the state leadership conference, the board has approved a non-attending Barbara James Service Award registration. So it is $20. But please make sure that if they are doing that, they know that they cannot attend the state conference. So this is a non-attending registration. It's just so that they can be recognized for the Barbara James Service Award, but they will not be attending the state conference. I will also show you in the registration how exactly to register for that non-attending Barbara James, because you have to register them for that as the registration type, but then you also have to register them for the Barbara James Service Award competitive event. So please make sure you're doing both, and I will show you how to do that. Leadership Academy, I already talked about. That will be on Saturday, April 5th. Again, it is $10 per student. You can add it in the online registration system. The SLC t-shirt, it will be $18 if pre-ordered or $20 on site. Please note our pre-order policy right here. So once a t-shirt has been ordered, meaning you've put it into the online registration system, and it is past the deadline, it must be paid for, even if the student is not coming. So please make sure to note that it must be paid for regardless, as long as it's in the system at the close of our deadline. We did just release, and I will show this when I go through the rest of the documents, but we did just release last night the conference logo design. So you can check that out and you can have your members look. I'm sure many of them have already seen it. To see if you do want to pre-order the t-shirt or not. We will have a limited supply on site, but we will not have a ton on site. So if you want a t-shirt, if you're even thinking about it, pre-order it because they go fast on site. I've already mentioned the fact that all schools must have an advisor or chaperone present and stay for the duration of the conference. I've also explained, our non-cancellation policy. So all of that, just reminders there. We already went over this, which is the postmark deadline, February 24th for all the packets. I already talked about the online registration deadline ad nauseum basically at this point. So February 21st, please don't forget. Please note this right here. Okay. If you register your school and you send all of your paperwork and payment to our office, and then it's before the deadline and you make a change to your registration, please just notify Mandy. Her email's right here. That way, when she's going through your paperwork, she can note any changes that you have made in the system. And again, but that has to all be made prior to the 21st deadline. There's our no cancellations. But here is the information again about substitutions, again, through Friday, March 7th. Please just send me an email with that information. Here's information on payment. So school check or money order, we do not accept cash or personal checks. If you send cash or a personal check, it will be sent back. So school check or money order is all that we accept. And there's our address to where to send your registration packet. And please make sure that all of the school checks or money orders are made payable to Florida HOSA. Please make sure you're signing the money order too. If you have a parent that's getting the money order or whatever, please make sure that the money order is signed if that is what is being sent. The second page has online registration instructions. You can refer back to this at your leisure if you need to. I will go through how to do the online registration. Not in depth. I'm not going to go as in depth as I did with the regional conference registration. If you need additional assistance with the online registration for the state conference, team events, those types of things, please refer to the regional conference webinar that I held before the regional conferences. I think it was at the end of October, where I went in depth on how to register for individual competitive events as well as team events. The required registration forms. So we tried to make this as easy as we possibly could have. It's split out. So you have the advisor chaperone forms, the student member forms, and then the family guest forms. Please note the same thing listed here, to be sent to the Florida HOSA State Office. Doesn't matter what type of form it is. If it's in this box, it has to be sent to the Florida HOSA State Office. So please make sure you're noting that and doing that. Here is where the eligibility accommodation form for those designated events that I had mentioned are. You can fill out an accommodation form for a competitive event that is not one of those 4 events, but it does not mean that we can accommodate that accommodation that you're asking for. So please just know it's going to depend on how much room we have, how much personnel we have. So we might not be able, we try our best as much as we can, but we might not be able to accommodate all of the requests that are submitted. The advisor chaperone forms, if you click in here, these all must be submitted with your paperwork, especially this one. This one is the one that's forgotten the most. That's why we put it at the top. Plus, it's the most helpful for you. Please make sure you're looking at this checklist. Please make sure you're checking it off and reading through it. It's going to keep you on track of what you have to submit and turn in. And please make sure you're submitting this with your registration packet, because if you don't, we have to get it from you, because there are a couple things that you have to sign and we have to have this form. So please make sure you are submitting this with your registration packet. Even if you as the advisor are not coming to SLC, you still need to put your name up here and your cell phone number and your email address, because we need to know who the advisor is, just in case anything were to happen. If you are not coming, please make sure you're designating the lead chaperone and their cell phone number. We have to have this, again, because if you're not there and there's a designated chaperone in your place, we have to have their phone number in case anything happens. So please make sure you're filling that out if you have a lead chaperone coming instead of you. If you're coming and you have a chaperone that's helping you out, or a co-advisor, and you want to put their information there, that's fine too. I mean, the more people we can contact if something happens, the better. Your school phone number. So this just goes through exactly what you need to check off and have as part of your registration packet. So just go through that, make sure you're reading it, make sure you're checking off once you have all of these. Payment, again, school check, underlined, not personal check, school check, or money order. If you are submitting a purchase order or a check request, the payment still must be postmarked by February 24th. This is just a placeholder. If you're submitting your paperwork, and your bookkeeper or your school or your district is sending the payment separately, that's just a placeholder. You still have to make sure that the payment is sent by the 24th. Please make sure, that's why it's highlighted yellow. You're signing here. This is just stating that you as the chapter advisor have collected, fully completed, and signed conference participation forms. So it's the code of conduct, medical liability release from everybody that you have registered, and that you're bringing those documents with you to the conference. Please make sure you sign this part. And then again, here's our address to mail the SLC paperwork to. You'll note that the same things are on a lot of these documents, so make sure you're reading them and sending everything to the correct place. Also make sure that your payment, we have this issue more often than not. Please make sure that your bookkeeper understands that we are not Global National HOSA. So while they may have HOSA as a vendor in the system, we are not the same. So your affiliation dues go to HOSA, Global National HOSA, in South Lake, Texas. But everything else, our regional conferences will be sent normally to your regional advisors. But our FLDA, our state leadership conference, even ILC, those payments come to us at Florida HOSA. Just make sure that they understand that we are a separate vendor from Global National HOSA, and that your payment is not being sent to Global National HOSA because they are getting thousands of payments from all the other states, and that can just so easily be lost. So make sure that the payment is coming to us here at Florida HOSA. The Abuse Prevention Handbook, this needs to be signed by all advisors and chaperones who are registered. If you scroll down to the bottom, this is the page that needs to be signed, again, by all the advisors and chaperones that are attending. You do not need to submit the entire packet to us, this packet, just the last page is fine. The screening certification form, again, needs to be filled out for all advisors and chaperones. You can put multiple advisors or chaperones on the same table, but this needs to be filled out and submitted as well. And then the Advisor Chaperone Code of Ethics and Medical Liability. Please make sure you're reading this fully. I just want to note that I understand that you have a lot going on, right? We all do. And you're taking a weekend out of your own personal life to bring your student members to this conference. And so while it is at a resort, it is not a vacation for our advisors. Our advisors are required to be monitoring their students. So please make sure you just understand, and you make sure that your chaperones understand that your job at this conference is to be making sure that your students are behaving, that they're in proper dress code, that they're demonstrating professionalism. That is the whole goal of our organization. And it is not a vacation for you or your chaperones to be out at the pool and this and that. You're here to make sure that your students are abiding by their code of conduct at all times. So this is the code of ethics. All advisors and chaperones must submit this, as well as the medical liability form, which is on the second page. We've made everything fillable for you this year. Hopefully that makes things easier. Moving along to student member forms. Here's the student code of conduct. Please make sure your students read this and understand what they're signing. It has to have their signature and their parent guardian signature. I want to note here the plan of action for members or students that do not follow the code of conduct. So first, I will consult with you as the chapter advisor or your chaperone, and then a determination will be made of what to do. But what I will say is we're going to have a one strike and you're out policy. We had code of conduct issues, quite a few last year, and it was embarrassing. So there are other members in the hotel There are other conferences going on. So if your student member is violating curfew, just anything outside of what they're supposed to be doing based on what is in this code of conduct. I just, one time, if I'm notified by you or the security or whatever, they will be sent home. And we've had parents have to come at 2:30 in the morning to pick up their students. And that is unfortunate, but that is what happens. And it will be at the cost and responsibility of them, the student and the parent. That's why we have both of them sign this form. So please make sure that they understand that. And then there's also the medical liability release form here that they must fill out. Then the family guest forms, basically the same thing, code of ethics for family guests. We ask that they are demonstrating professionalism, just like the rest of us are. Again, we are not the only guests in the hotel. We're not the only conference that's going on. So they need to fill out this code of ethics for any registered family guest, and then the medical liability release form. And then here is the eligibility and accommodation form that I mentioned. So you can look through that and just make sure that everything's filled out and make sure that it's postmarked by the 24th with the rest of your information. You can also email it to me if you'd like. I prefer if it's submitted with your form so that everything's together, but if you need to email it to me, that's okay too. Here's the hotel information and calculation sheet. Again, like I had mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, I do know that the block is full. Like I said, if you have not filled out that Google form for the waiting list, please do so as soon as possible. But this just has information on the hotel rates. It is $209 a night. Please don't email us and ask us what the rate is. It's right here. And it explains what's included in that. It also explains what's included in the resort fee and all of that information right here. There are 3 options for booking. The link, yes, the block is full, so the link's really not going to do anything for you at this point. Calling, same thing, not really going to do much because it is full. And then if you are reserving 8 or more rooms, I would still, and need that amount, I would still email Caroline and just let her know that, even if you have filled out the form, just to let her know that that's what you need for your chapter. Please make sure you're reading the tax exempt benefits. That has changed since last year of what they're requiring. There's information on parking and unloading. And then food. As many of you know, we have started taking credit cards for our sales. And it has been helpful because the food, the hotel is cashless. So all the food that any of the members will buy or you at the conference, it would need to be via credit card or debit card because it is cashless. A lot of the students will bring those prepaid gift cards or Visa cards, and that's fine too. Here is our tentative agenda. You can look through it at your leisure, but it has all of the 3 days. Plus, I want to note something new here for Wednesday. We will be doing an early conference registration if you're a middle school and you come in on Wednesday, or if you're a secondary, post-secondary, and you come in on Wednesday. Please get with Mandy and I will put this in an email that I send out to advisors, but please get with Mandy and I and let us know that you would like to do the early conference registration on Wednesday. We're just hoping that it helps cut down on the line for Thursday for those that are already at the hotel on Wednesday night. The lieutenant and event manager assignment chart. If you are on this list, you have probably already heard from me, but just check, make sure you're not on the list if you're wondering. But like I said, we will have a few additional people to assign just based on those who are not coming to the state conference. Here's the official dress code. Make sure your students understand this and you understand this. We have it split by general sessions, competitive events. It has an event-specific dress code. And then we also go more in depth. So this is what the official host uniform entails. This is what the suit option entails. It's one or the other. Competitive events, just some more information on that. Please make sure they're looking at their guidelines to know what they're allowed to wear. And then just note the official function dress. So this is any of the other events that Florida HOSA has going on, or the area that our conference is in. We are in a new area this year, the newer built section of the hotel. So any social activities in that area, the Expo and Career Fair, workshops, Leadership Academy, they need to be an official function dress. Here's where you can read through any competitive event updates. This is a document from Global National HOSA. Usually the event updates are always listed in the guidelines at the top anyways. So, but you can check this here as well. Substitution of team members. I will let you guys read this at your leisure, but if you have any teams that they have made it to states, but some of them can't come, you can use this formula here in these examples to decide if they are able to have those particular substitutes for that team. So just note here, so to determine if a team with substitutes will be able to compete at the SLC, you divide the number of original team members, and those are remaining from the regional conference, that are on the new SLC team by the total number of members on the new team. And that result must be 25% or higher. So you can come here and look at these examples and make sure if you've came here, you've read through everything, you're still a little bit unsure, you can email me, but don't email me to just ask if you can have substitutions, because you can. It just has to be that 25% of the original team is intact moving to the state conference. Here is the courtesy course sign up information. So you can go through there and sign up your one courtesy core member. And please remember, they must assist each day of the conference. If you have questions, Jessica Cruz is the Courtesy Core coordinator. Again, she does a phenomenal job. So if you have any questions about Courtesy Core, please email her. Again, you can have additional Courtesy Core once you get to SLC, but they must have another function. And we do encourage, if you would like your students to do Courtesy Core, we do have some advisors who make all of their students, if they have like a smaller chapter, they make all their students do Courtesy Core. It's valuable for them, and it's also valuable for us because we do need assistance with CE and competitive events and things like that. They serve as patients and that type of thing. So we do really utilize them and need them. So if you have additional members that want to do it, that have another function, they can sign up when they're there. Here's the voting delegate info and election procedure. You will hear from your regional advisor if you have a voting delegate. Please do not register somebody as a voting delegate if you have not heard from your regional advisor that they are a voting delegate. We will have a list from each regional advisor. This happens every year. Every year. We get to the voting delegate workshop, and there's always at least, I would say, a handful of students that show up thinking that they're a voting delegate. Well, my advisor told me I was. Well, you're not on our list. So we use whatever list we get from the regional advisors. So if you have not heard from your regional advisor that you have a voting delegate, then you don't. If they are coming to the state conference as a voting delegate, they must follow everything that is in this document. So they must be at all the required and mandatory meetings and events for the voting delegates, and they must go and vote. Okay, so the regional advisors, when we send out the list to them of how many voting delegates they're allowed to have based on our bylaws, I will also be submitting a list to them of their voting delegates from last year that did not vote and did not attend some of these, so that they're not using those same voting delegates, because that's taking an opportunity away from somebody that really would like to be involved in this capacity. So I will show you when we get to the conference registration how to register the voting delegates, but do not register them if you don't know for certain from your regional advisor. If you have a state officer candidate, This is where they can come for additional information. There's the application, but again, at this point, if they haven't filled it out already, they probably won't be because has to be postmarked by Saturday. But here's the state officer election guidelines as well. And then we have the state officer candidate webinar recording that our phenomenal state officer team hosted on December 11th, if they have any questions. Here is the Florida HOSA Foundation Scholarship application instructions. If you have anybody that would like to apply to the scholarship, please remember the deadline, 11:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on February 28th. Here are the rookie advisor recognition, the form for that, and then the local advisor recognition form. The rookie is presented to an advisor with no more than 2 years of experience. So please make sure that your members know, or whoever may be submitting this form. It can be a HOSA student member, another chapter advisor, a regional advisor, or a faculty staff member at the nominated advisor's school. But please make sure that they're using the correct form. The rookie advisor form is for those with no more than 2 years of experience. And then the other form that I'll show in just a second is for more than that. And the form must be received by February 14th. They can send it via mail, but the easiest way is just to send it via email to me, and my contact information is down here. The team's been posting on social media about this, so we've been trying to get the word out to the members that this is something that they can be nominating their advisor for, so that they are aware that this is an option. And so then this is just the local advisor, so more than those 2 years that I had mentioned. Here's information on penny wars, if you have any questions about that. If you're a returning advisor, please make sure that you note that it's not Be the Match anymore. It's NMDP, so we have information on that on here. So just make sure you are aware of that change. Here is the pin and t-shirt design. This is the winner. It was voted on by our members, advisors. So this is the winner for this year. So this will be our pin design and the design that is on our t-shirt. It's also used as some inspiration for a couple of other fundraiser things that the team is putting together. So, and then here's a do list for SLC that you can read at your leisure and make sure that your members understand this as well. Moving into the registration system quickly, I want to note a couple of things because I do want to give that time for question and answer from you all, but we do have 2 separate tiles. We had this last year. It worked out well. So we are doing it again this year. It just helps with the separating of the competitive events because there are middle school specific competitive events and then secondary and post-secondary specific. So we have 2 conferences here. We have the Florida HOSA Middle School, this first tile, the middle school SLC, and then the secondary, post-secondary SLC. So just click into the tile. One thing to note, if you are an advisor that's at a middle high school, please register your middle school students in the middle school tile, and please make sure you're registering your secondary and post-secondary students in this one, in this secondary and post-secondary tile. So I would like to note, this was just from the last webinar we did, but here's where you'll see the registrations. To delete a registration, if you need to do that, if you make any type of mistake, you can come to this and again, you all should be very familiar with registering at this point with the regional conferences that you all had to register for. But you'll come down here and then all the way down at the bottom and just delete the registration. So please make sure you're doing that before the deadline if you have people that are not coming. So I will show you. So if you go into, if you're registering one of your members, you want to make sure you're looking up here to see the registration type. It will automatically default to whatever they're affiliated as. So if they're a secondary or post-secondary, it'll default to that, but you do want to check this, one, to make sure it's correct. Because if they're incorrectly affiliated as post-secondary or collegiate, that's who they're going to be competing with. So you want to make sure you're checking this. But here's where I was talking about the non-attending Barbara James. Again, if you have people that are wanting to do this and not attend the state conference, again, it's still $20. It's to get them recognition at the state conference, but they won't physically be there. You need to register them for that here. And then when you scroll down, I'm going to show you really quick. Let me move this over. When you scroll down right here under register for competitive events, if you click that, you need to scroll up and find Barbara James Service Award and then click that. So that is, we'll make sure that they are going to be recognized. If you just click this up here, the non-attending Barbara James, and do not add down here the Barbara James Service Award under their competitive event, they will not be recognized, and that will defeat the whole purpose. So make sure you're doing both. You're registering them as non-attending, and then you're also putting them actually in the Barbara James Service Award competitive event. And also make sure that if you do have students that are coming and competing in another competitive event and they're still doing Barbara James, you still have to put Barbara James Service Award in as their competitive event if they want to be recognized for that. Any of the recognition events, they need to be selected here. And just remember, they can compete in one regular competitive event and as many recognition events as they would like. I want to show right here, this is our options and activities. So if I scroll over, you'll see here courtesy core, again, only one per school. So for every single person's registration, you should only have one courtesy core person listed if you are bringing a courtesy core. The Leadership Academy, remember, this is an add-on. It is not an assignment or function. We will be going through the registration. If we see any students that just have the Leadership Academy listed and no other competitive event or recognition event, we will be contacting you and deleting their registration. So please make sure that this is just an add-on to your student members registration. Here's where you will choose if there's a state officer candidate. Please try to remember this. I know that a lot of our state officer candidates are also competing in competitive events. And so usually when you're registering for your students, you're kind of focused on that and kind of miss these things that are important. But I do pull this list from the website for sign-in and things like that. So please make sure that you are adding, if you have a state officer candidate, you're adding that as an option or activity to their registration, even if they have some other type of competitive event or recognition event, or if they're courtesy core. Please make sure that this is selected. Here's where all the t-shirts are too. If you'd like to pre-order a t-shirt, all the sizes are listed there. And then here's where the voting delegate selection is. So again, right here, regional advisors appoint. So if you don't hear from your regional advisor that you have a voting delegate, then do not select this. If you have someone who's really interested in being a voting delegate, each of our regions are different on how they select, but I would just reach out to your regional advisor and let them know that you do have someone who's very, very interested in doing so. But please make sure that they understand that it is a huge responsibility to be a voting delegate, and they must, again, attend all of those required and mandatory meetings and events that they're supposed to be at, and they must vote. Okay. Okay, if you, again, if you have any questions about further registrations in terms of, team events and things like that, please refer to my regional conference webinar that I did at the end of October. It is on our website that has all specifics about registration. But I want to point out a couple of things here. Down at the bottom left under view, please make sure you're checking this page that I'm on right now, but that you're also checking registrations as well as competitive events. So, and this is important because if you leave off a student that made it to states and it's after the deadline, we don't do any late registration. So you want to make sure you're double, triple, quadruple checking that all of your students who are moving on to states are registered for whatever competitive event or recognition event it may be. So you can look through here. If there is an issue with the registration, it will be highlighted red. You can see here under hostable. This whole section is highlighted red, and that's because for hostable, you have to have exactly 4 competitors. And so right now we only have 1 in there, so that's why it's highlighted red. But this is a really good way to make sure that any errors can be fixed before your registration is complete. And then the registration view, again, bring you back here. Please make sure you're checking this as well. This is another great way, especially this. So if you're registering a team and there's any issues with the registration, there will be a question mark here instead of a number. So if you go through this list and you see any question marks, you can fix those. And then if you go through the competitive event view, like I had just shown, and you see any red highlights, you know that there's an issue there as well. And then right here to the right under reports at the bottom, here's where you can generate your invoice for your bookkeeper or whoever you need to submit an invoice for. You can, again, up here at the top, it needs to come to us at Florida HOSA, not Global National HOSA, but here's where your invoice will be. And then also back down here under reports, the registration summary. That needs to be submitted with your paperwork as well. So please do not forget this. This is the most forgotten form. Please don't forget to submit this with your paperwork. And then one other quick thing I wanted to mention down here before we get to the Q&A is the register family guest other down here in blue on the bottom right. If you click that, that is where you will go to register your chaperones, which is the first option here, your delegation leads or point of contacts. This is mainly for post-secondary chapters, and then any guest family. This is where you will come to register all of that. Obviously, we don't have competitive event options for them, but we do have options or activities for the sole purpose of the t-shirt right here. So this is where you will come to fill in your chaperone, delegation leader, guest family registrations. Okay, so I think that is pretty much all I wanted to cover between the forms and the online registration. I do just a couple of quick things to emphasize. Making sure you're following the policy of staying for the duration of the conference. Make sure you have that important deadline document that has all the deadlines and dates that things are due, and making sure that your members know what those are, especially for the recognition events where they have to upload any hours. Remember that every member must have an assignment or a function. And again, the Leadership Academy is not one of those this year. And then every guest, so parent, any family member, any guest must be registered to attend through the online system. And again, like I had mentioned, we do not do on-site registration. And I unfortunately have had to tell people that have flown in to Orlando that they cannot go into the general session, or they cannot, because again, we don't do on-site registration. Our conference is too large. We have 4,000 members and advisors, guests, family. I mean, we have way too many people and not enough personnel to be able to do on-site registration for those that have not been already registered by the deadline. Just remember the substitution rule. You can view that document. And just also remember to discuss with your student members that are coming to SLC that attending SLC is a privilege, right? You know, they've worked hard, they've mastered whatever competitive event enough to place in the top 3 and move on to states. I mean, it's a privilege to be at SLC. And they need to understand that, and they need to understand what's expected of them as a member of Florida HOSA, which is following that code of conduct. So again, that one strike and you're out, will be followed. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that and understands that up front, you as the advisor, but also your member that's coming, and any parents. And again, like they're coming, and they could, if they're, misbehave, break the code of conduct, I mean, that's taking away an opportunity from another member that may have loved to come to the state conference. So just please make sure that they understand it's a privilege to be here, and what the purpose and goal of Florida HOSA is. We are all professionals, so that's what we're trying to teach the members. And then just remember with the Barbara James, like I had just gone over, making sure that if they're non-attending, that they're registered as non-attending, but that they're also registered in the competitive event. And again, that's for the other recognition events as well. If they're doing some other assignment function, but then they're also doing a recognition event, they need to be put into that recognition event in the system. And the other thing to note is Barbara James is the only recognition event that we do the non-attending for. Okay, so the other recognition events, that's not an option. Okay, I'm 8 minutes over, but I do want to open it up now for questions or comments. You can either unmute yourself and ask everybody, or you can put it in the chat, and we will try to get through these questions as quickly as we can. To clarify, middle school SLC is April 3rd through the 5th, not April 6th. Yes, we do allow middle school to leave on Saturday. You must stay through Saturday and through the awards, the middle school awards. That's in the morning. But then we do allow middle school to leave after that. The recording, it won't be necessarily sent out, but it will be posted to our Florida HOSA website. It's a large file, so it's hard to send out, but it will be posted. And I can show you guys really quick where to find that. I'll send an email out. I always do with information on where it's posted. But if you go to our Florida HOSA website and you hover over resources and publications, and you go to advisor teacher resources, and just scroll down the second one here, advisor webinars. So we have all of the webinars that we've done. We even have one from last year. So, but this is the one I was referring to, the Regional Winter Spring CE Conference webinar. That's the webinar where I go through in great detail and great depth how to register for the regional conferences. So again, if you have any questions about registering for the team events or even the individual events, you can go and watch that there. We do timestamp all of the recordings. So if you want to kind of skip ahead, if you just want to see where the online registration part is, you can fast forward to that part and just watch that section. But this will, yes, Lloyd.
We'll also post the webinar, this recorded webinar, on our SLC information page.
Yes, thank you, Lloyd. Yes, we will. And we will also be posting the first one I did, which has the same information. I covered the same exact information. It may have different questions, just depending on what you all asked versus what the advisors asked on the first one. But we will be posting both, hopefully by tomorrow, but if not by tomorrow, then by Monday at the latest, those will be posted, because we know the deadline's coming up and all of that. So. Okay, will there be an option for guests to attend, like grandparents, et cetera, to attend only the awards ceremony for a fee? I know this was brought up last year, but not sure if any progress on that. I know FBLA offers something like this just for the awards ceremony. No, this year, that is not an option. I'm not saying that it won't ever be an option, but at least for right now, it is not. But I do understand that many advisors have asked about this. They have a lot of parents and guests that just want to come for the awards and don't necessarily want to pay the full registration fee. But as of right now, it is not an option. But I do hear you. And so I'm never say never, but that would definitely be something that would have to be approved through our board. So that really wouldn't be a decision from me. But it's definitely something I can bring up to them for future conferences. Thank you for that. This is a great one. Are separate money orders per attendee allowed? No. Because if you can imagine, what if you're sending 30 members, you have 30 members attending SLC and each one gives a different money order. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do that. It's only me, Lloyd, and Mandy that are working on SLC, and then Sandra Lynn, does all of our financials for running the organization and running our business. But Mandy really is the only one that's going through the registration. So no, we could never process one money order per person. It has to be one money order per school or chapter. We've got questions about this before. And so if you have a bunch of different parents that are wanting to pay, have them pick one parent, and that one parent, everybody pays that one parent, and that one parent gets a money order. But no, they can, and we have sent money orders back. So if we get 50 money orders, we're not gonna process that. We will send them back. So please make sure. That's a great question. Thank you. But no separate money orders. Does payment for hotel go through the school? That's up to your school, and payment. All the hotel stuff is not through us. So if you have any hotel specific questions, contact Caroline Sendra. Her information is on that hotel document. But the payment for all of that will be dependent on your school and the policies for payment that you all have at the school or district level. And if you need invoices or anything like that, I mean, that's going to all be through the Marriott. For guests that are registered, do they have to stay on site? Are we responsible for reserving their room? They must stay at a conference approved hotel. Really quickly, I'm going to put this back up because it's important. That all members attending the SLC, they must stay for the duration of the conference at the approved conference hotel. So yes, anybody that is registered, that's just our liability. They must stay at the approved conference hotel, which again, like I had mentioned, right now is just the Marriott, but we are potentially working on an overflow hotel, and that'll be also an approved conference hotel. And are you responsible for reserving their room? Not necessarily. We have different chapters that do different things. So some chapters the advisor will book all of the rooms, and the parents will pay the school, or however it works. But you don't necessarily have to. It's just however that will work best for your chapter and your school and your guests that are coming. But you aren't necessarily required to reserve their room. They could call the Marriott and book their own room, except for right now because the block's full. But in a normal circumstance, they could do that. If you submitted a wait list for rooms but need to change, this is a good question. If you submitted a wait list for rooms but need to change the room number and submit another form, will this move your placement down? Don't submit another form. If you already did, it's okay. I am going to really quick put Jonathan's email in the chat. If you submitted your form already and need to make any sort of change to it, either add rooms or lessen the rooms, please just send him an email and don't submit a new form. Like I mentioned, if you did already, that's okay. But you don't have to, and it's probably best if you don't, just because it's more of the forms that we have to process and go through, and then compare and make sure that you didn't fill out any other forms. So let me add his email right here. He is our hotel and contract person. So if you have any questions, about that, please contact him. Okay. Wow, we have a lot of questions here. Okay. Will advisors, good question, Martine. Will advisors not assigned to an event be required to serve as a judge? Not necessarily, but yes, maybe. So what we're trying to do is move away from using our advisors as judges. It just helps with discrepancies and bias, scoring or anything like that. So we're trying to move away from using advisors as judges. And we have a phenomenal group of 5. Most of them are past state officers, but who are our judge coordinators, and they are working on getting industry professionals to serve in these roles as judges. So that way, the judges that are scoring your student members are professionals in the field that they're judging. And we're hoping that will help just make things more streamlined. So to answer your question, they may or they may not. So if we don't fill all of the judge slots with industry professionals, which happened last year, we had about a 60% rate of industry professionals that were judges, but we still had to use about 30 to 40%, I would say, of our advisors for judging. We don't anticipate needing that many this year, but we may still need some advisors to serve as judges. And if we do, I will send out information as I did last year to have advisors. And our advisors really stepped up and signed up right away to judge. So we appreciate that. And if needed, we will reach out. But as of right now, we're hoping to have 100% for industry representatives as judges for SLC. Mary, middle school clarification. Yes, guest family, that was a board approved decision. We understand that middle school usually has to bring a lot more guest family or chaperones to serve, and as you know, to watch the kids, and that you usually have a smaller ratio of adults to students. So the guest family will be $50 for the registration, and you can note that on the online registration of the middle school tile for middle school registration. Are you saying we are not going to know about our rooms until February 15th? Registration deadline is the 21st with all the paperwork we have to do for our field trips. This is not much turnaround time. Our paperwork needs to be put in now with all the calculations of room costs, buses, etc. We won't know until February 15th because we just don't know how many additional rooms are needed, and we need to have a solid number before we contract with an overflow hotel. Because if we contract with an overflow hotel and tell them we need 500 rooms and really we only need 200, Florida Host is going to have to cover the difference as we wouldn't fulfill the contract. We are working on a better option for this. We were hoping to have it ready this year, but it's unfortunately not. But definitely next year, we will have probably a different way of signing up for the hotel rooms. But as of right now, the rooming list is how we have to do it. I do understand that there have been some changes with the schools and districts in terms of what's required when you're talking about field trips and the paperwork that has to be submitted and this and that. I am willing to work with schools on a case-by-case basis. I understand some of those things are completely out of your control. Just contact me if you do need any type of extension because of your school or district policies with field trips. I'm not going to just give an extension because, you know, you waited until the last minute to submit something, but it's a different story when it's a policy from your school or district that is out of your control. So yes, the room we should know February 15th who will be able to get those rooms at the Marriott based on that rooming list, and then who will be at the overflow. And by that point, we should have an idea of the overflow hotel. We just won't have finalized probably numbers for you until that following Monday or Tuesday, I would say. And just to confirm, the one courtesy core member does not have to be in a competitive event. That is correct. That can be their only assignment or function if that is what they would like to do. So no, they don't have to be in a competitive event. They can only do courtesy core if they'd like. But they just have to make sure that they attend all 3 days to help with courtesy core tasks and responsibilities. Due to grad night being on the Saturday of HOSA, I may have seniors back out. Who do I notify about having too many hotel rooms? You can email Caroline. Sandra, her information is on that hotel calculation and information sheet on the website. But just email her as soon as possible, because obviously at that point we can then give those rooms to other people who need it and who have filled out the rooming list. Yes, payment and paperwork is due. It's not due February 21st. That's the registration, online registration deadline. But they have to be postmarked by February 24th. Will the information about the overflow come out earlier than February 15th? It depends. That's really a Jonathan question. He's handling all of that. I do not have the capacity to handle the hotel contracts at this point with everything else that we're doing. So we have him handling that. And he's working hard. He's already getting RFPs out for overflows, and that's already been in progress. If I do hear anything about the overflow, if anything's finalized earlier than February 15th, yes, we will definitely be sending out information. We're going to send out, we're not going to withhold any information from you guys. As soon as we get the information, we will pass it along to you. But I just don't have a confirmed overflow hotel just yet. And the reason we don't, just so everyone's aware, we are so large, we've grown so much. We book our hotel contracts 6 years in advance. So I've already booked at the Marriott through 2030. Now some of those dates can be subject to change based on the contract, but we book so far out in advance. We're only allowed, I would love if the entire Florida HOSA family could all be at the Marriott and that we wouldn't need an overflow hotel. It would save us a ton of money on transportation back and forth from the overflow to the Marriott. Everyone would be under the same roof. It would be great. Unfortunately, the Marriott has limited availability on how many rooms they're willing to offer us. And they have other conferences going on. They obviously have to keep some of the rooms open for normal people that are just coming to stay there. So we are limited in the amount of rooms that we have. We are continuously adding rooms. I just signed, like I'd mentioned, I just signed another addendum to add additional rooms. So for contracts that are years out, that we've signed years ago, even before I was here. So we're not trying to make you guys have to stay at an overflow. I mean, that's not what this is. It's just, unfortunately, with the size that we have grown to and gotten to, we are too large to all be at the Marriott with the given circumstances that they have for us in our contracts now, which have a limited, number of rooms. But the goal is always, to try our best to have everybody there under one roof at the Marriott. But the reason we also don't sign overflow hotel contracts far in advance is because we don't know how many rooms we're going to need. We don't know how many people are going to register for the conference. So we don't want to be put in a position where we're required, which is every hotel requires you to say you're going to at least fulfill a blank amount of rooms. When we don't know how many rooms, it makes it difficult for us to sign any sort of contract until we know, because we do not want to be put in the position where now we have to pay for those extra rooms because we just don't have the funds to do that. We're a small nonprofit and we can't afford to do that. But I hear you guys in terms of, it's difficult to stay at the overflow. That's why we try to, and always provide free transportation to the main hotel. We're always looking for better hotels or less expensive hotels that can fit our needs. But again, we've grown so much. I mean, we've grown so much that we've outgrown the area of the Marriott that we've been in, that we can't even fit in there. Actually, last year, we had maybe a foot of space between the doors to the general session to the first row of chairs because we were so jam-packed in there because our registration numbers were close to 4,000, which we weren't really expecting. So, I hear you guys when it's frustrating to have to stay at an overflow, and we try our best. Again, like I said, I just signed an addendum for additional rooms. We'll keep trying to do that type of thing, but we're limited sometimes just with what the hotel can provide us with. And like I had mentioned, we're hoping to use a different sign-up system next year. Nothing guaranteed, but hopefully it'll make things a little bit easier as well. What is the minimum number of nights the students have to stay at the hotel? Well, they have to be there for the full duration of the conference. So unless it's middle school, it's Thursday through Sunday. So they would have to stay Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Yes. Okay. Do the king rooms have 2 beds? If 2 advisors are sharing a room, or do we request a double? The king rooms, any of the king rooms I've been in at the Marriott have always just been 1 king bed. You could email Caroline Sendra and just double check, but I'm pretty sure it's just 1 king bed. So if you need 2 beds, then yes, I would request a double. Just to confirm, the Google form is only for the chapters that do not have rooms yet, correct? Yes, exactly. So if you are not already reserved at the Marriott, then you'll need to fill out the Google form to try to get a spot at the Marriott. But if you already have a reservation, then you don't need to worry about filling out that form. Will the overflow hotel rooms cost the same, or we have to wait until the 15th to find out? Well, I'll let you know as soon as I know. So it may be before the 15th. But last year we try to get the pricing around the same as what the Marriott is if we can. So last year we were around the same price. I know Jonathan tries his best to get the most affordable option, with it still being a similar experience for you guys than at the Marriott. From what everybody said, at least the feedback I received, I don't know if he received different feedback, but from what I received, everybody loved the Carib. We'll try to get that as an overflow, but there's no promises or guarantees. I don't know pricing wise what they're giving him. So as soon as I have any information, him and I have been talking every day. As soon as I have any information, I will get it to you all. But you can estimate that it will be around that area. I can't say whether it's going to be more or less, but it should be around this price of what the Marriott rooms are. Yes, the Carib was awesome. Yes, I heard it was. So, and it's really not too far down the road, which is a benefit as well. So I know that was one of the locations he put feelers out to. We've been working on this for a little bit. So Like I said, as soon as I know, you guys will know. I think I got through all of the questions in the chat. Are there any additional questions that weren't in the chat that I could help answer that you all have before we sign off? Okay, well, I appreciate you all being on this webinar. I hope it was beneficial and useful for you. Like I mentioned, we will have this recording and the first webinar recording posted to the website. Like I said, hopefully tomorrow, if not Monday. Again, I covered the same information. So if you just want to hear potentially the questions from the first webinar, you can just slide to that timestamp section of the recording and look there. And obviously refer back to this if you have any questions after the webinar is over. But I appreciate you all for everything you do for your members and for us. And we're always here if you need anything. And I will see you all at SLC. Thank you, guys.